So good afternoon, grade 10 for the quarter 4 week 5 topics in MAPEH. So first we have here in music. So the last time we discussed about the different musical play. So for today we have the Philippine ballet. So the medium of the dance and ballet to interpret novels, folk tales, and stories provide visual excitement as the character comes alive not in spoken dialogue but in body movements. Much of the communication is created in pantomime. So it is a performance in which a story is told without words by using body movements and facial expression. So as you all know, familiar naman kamo sa ginatawag nga ballet. Diba? So ang ballet, it is an act nga they use their body movements lang. And when they present, so makita mo kung ang ilang perform is happy na sa or sad tungod sa ilang facial expressions and body movements lang. And hindi na sila, wala sila required yung magambal-hambal through actions na iya or movements kumbaga sa body. So the lack of spoken words or song lyrics is more than made up for by creative steps and arm gestures of the dancers. So their facial expressions and body movements add more meaning to the story being revealed. So the performances is further enhanced by colorful costumes, elaborate sets, visual suggestive music, and synchronized choreography. So who among you here have watched any ballet performances? Or wala gid mi naka-watch sang ballet performances? So, is sa television lang? Wala gid sa TV? Okay. So, kung nakalantaw magid ka mo mga ballet performances, so maano mo na sa mabalaan mo ang storyline kumbaga nga gina-present na nila is pagi na sa ilang movements, body movements. So kung sa intense nga part na kumbaga, so grabe na ang body movements na ilang ginagiho and ang facial expression kumbaga nila. So damo na mabalaan ang facing sa ilang performance. So we have original Filipino ballet vividly presents folk tales and local fables, such as the beloved stories of Lola Basyang, as well as epics from neighboring countries. So like the Ramayana, which is in India. So such Filipino ballet productions have evoked wide enthusiasm from people of all ages. So they have been added to the repertoire of Philippine dance companies to supplement the Western classical ballet such as the Nutcracker, Swan Lake, Sleeping Beauty, and Giselle. So we have here examples ng Philippine ballet, which is the Tatlong Kwento ni Lola Basyang. So I think most of you here are familiar with Lola Basyang. So, Tatlong Kwento ni Lola Basyang is a ballet adaptation of Severino Reyes. Folktales mga kwento ni Lola Basyang. So, it was meant to instill and rekindle the interest of Filipino youth in the beauty, richness, and heritage of Philippine literature. So, before, kung watch man kayo mo sa television, di ba? So, ang kwento ni Lola Basyang, gina-story na sa mga bata. So, hindi ka, sa parts ng imong nga life, kumbaga maagyan mo na. So, hindi lang, just like you, di ba? Sa inyong mga grandmother, sa inyong mga lola, di ba? They make kwento sa bata ka mo. They make kwento konyo. So, kung sila, the story, sila kumbaga sa inyo, sa bata ka mo. Pero, mostly kang gina-story sa aton nga mga lola and lolo is about horror, di ba? So, mostly about horror. So the typical storytelling scene shows the grandmother, who is Lola Basyang. So ang iya nga typical na nga scene is ara sa rocking chair, di ba, gapungko. And ang iya nga mga grandchildren naga pamati sa iya. So we have here tatlong kwento ni Lola Basyang featured the following stories. So first, ang kapatid ng tatlong Maria. So this is a fantasy story set to neo-ethnic music in a contemporary style. And it is about a hero's fantastic journey to different kingdoms in pursuit of his bewitched sisters. Next is ang mahiwagang violin. So ang mahiwagang violin naman, this is a local version of Piper Tale where the main character mesmerizes his followers through music of his violin. So the story entails in them the moral lesson that good triumphs over evil. Next is ang prinsipe ng mga ibon. So ang prinsipe ng mga ibon, this is a love story where a princess falls in love with a bird. So sana all, di ba? Naluyag siya sa ibon. So ang isa. There is a story about the princess nga naluyag sa ibon. Okay, so next we have here the second episode. So tatlo pang kwento ni Lola Basyang included the following stories. First is ang palasyo ng mga duwende. So this is a romantic adventure wherein the heroine, Yani, is being maltreated by her envious stepmother and stepsisters. So the cursed bird is changed back into a prince with the help of Yani. So it depicts Mindanao and the ancient Pintados through neo-ethnic movements. Next is 12 Masayang Prinsesa. So this is a romantic fantasy about 12 daughters of a king. So these 12 princesses secretly leave their bedroom at night to travel to an enchanted land and dance with the mga princess. So, 12 ka mga princesses and secretly, pag gabi, gagwa sila kag nagatabo sa mga prinsipe without knowing sang king. Next is Anting-Anting. So the Anting-Anting, this is a horror comedy wherein the cowardly hero who tries to overcome his fears in order to win his love. So the slapstick comedy is enhanced by exaggerated movements as one is later haunted by ghosts that add to his fears, for which he looks for an anting-anting. So, diba, most of you here, kabalo na sa anting-anting ang ginatawa. So that's it for our topic in music, which is the Philippine Ballet. Next is arts. So for arts, we have success in theater production, which is designing the stage costumes and props. So it is very important in any theater production to have somebody who will make the appropriate design for the stage. So of course, isa ka theater production, importante ginaya ang may ma-design sang stage. Kung wala yung ma-design sang stage, so diin ma-perform mga actors and actresses. So hindi man na pwede nga ma-performance sila sa mga open field. So a designer is a creative person in his or her own right. An excellent designer has particular qualities and abilities. A designer must be able to imagine a production from reading the script. Okay, ang designer, once nabasa yan ang script, kumbaga, So, gusto, may idea na nasa dayon sa kung ano ang stage kumbaga design. So once nabasa na sa designer ang script, kabalo na amo ning matabo sa stage so amo na ibutang ta amo ni sa ang tsura sang stage. So kabalo na sa once nabasa yan na ang script. So hindi mo na pwede yan, di ba? Hindi mo na pwede nga designer ka ang script about about mga horror tapos ang imo nga nga stage yung setting siya ay nga design niya do ka festival, di ba? Hindi man na yan pwede. So dapat appropriate kung ano ang para sa script. So he or she must have a high sense of visual beauty and harmony and be able to translate these attributes into color mass, form, line, and so on. And finally, a designer must be able to subordinate his or her concept to the entire production. So in other words, the designer must be able to combine his or her own concept with the director's concept. So aside sa iya nga concept, kumbaga dapat ang iya concept maga-the same man sa iya ka director. Dapat parihas, may similarities kumbaga. Dapat ang concept nila amo-amo kumbaga parihas. Almost the same. Hindi man yan pwede ang concept kumbaga sang director. Umagay ba ko kung about sa horror, syempre do ka dark. Tapos ang imo concept ya colorful, so hindi niya pwede. So the stage designer goes several stages to actualize a design. He or she makes a design following a step-by-step procedure such as first, analyzing the drama in order to get a general visual idea of the demands. So dapat kabalo ka kung ikaw isa ka stage designer or designer, kabalo ka sang story kumbaga. Sang drama. Para mabalaan mo, amo di galing dapat kung angin mo. Amo di dapat nga design sa amo ni nga drama. Next, meeting with the director and draws rough sketches. So this way he or she begins to put concepts in tangible form. Converting his or her rough sketches into finished floor plan and side elevations. A floor plan is a bird's eye view of the setting on the stage floor. A side elevation is a cross-section of the setting, usually drawn to check masking or the hiding of something such as the back or of the stage area. Next is preparing a perspective drawings and either makes a model of these or paint a rendering of the set. So this way, the director clearly sees what set will look like. Next is drafting the working drawings from which the technical director and the shop foreman plans to build the set. Working drawings are highly detailed and in scale. And last is overseeing the setting up of that scenery. So another important role in the production is the costume designer. So his or her main concern is to illuminate the character traits by what the character wears once designed. So the costume designer hands over the drawing and rendering to the seamstress who supervises the creation of the costume. So for this one naman, hindi man na pwede nga kung ara ka sa stage kumbaga, o namitood ang stage setup. Pero ang costume sang actors and actresses, kumbaga, na mas overpower kumbaga sang design sang stage ang costume ni actors and ni actresses. So hindi manayo pwede. So dapat ga-match kumbaga. So that's it for our lesson in arts. So next is we have the P. So our lesson in P is we have common injuries involved in dancing, which is the cheer dance. So first we have sprain. So a sprain is a stretch or tear of a ligament So the band of connective tissues that joins the end of one bone with another. So sprains are caused by trauma such as a fall or blow to the body that knocks a joint out of a position and in the worst case, ruptures the supporting ligament. So who among you here have experience na mag-sprain? So wala pa man. Sprain. Okay, so how was the experience? Sakit? Next is we have the knee injuries. So knee injuries can range from mild to severe. So less severe would be tendonitis, patella femoral compression syndrome, iliotibial band syndrome, and bursitis. So the several injuries include bone bruises or damage to the cartilage or ligaments. So muna sila ang mga following ng mga examples ng knee injuries. Next is fracture. Fracture naman. So a fracture is a break in the bone that can occur from either a quick one-time injury to the bone or from repeated stress to the bone over time. So, ano naman yung fracture? Who among you here na naka-experience magka-fracture? So, sakit. Aside sa sakit, of course, sakit pagit ang bulsa ni mama kag ni papa. Kay, di ba? Ang bulong. Hindi makagwanta. Fracture. So, fracture na yan. Pag fracture gani, buto. Hindi may mahiluhin. Okay. Next is dislocation. So, dislocation. When two bones that come together to form a joint become separated. The joint is described as being dislocated. How about dislocation naman yan? Naka-experience na ma-dislocate ang buto? Wala? Okay. So what are the first aid techniques? So we have here first aid techniques to injuries. So first, we have the acronym for the PRICE. So when you say PRICE stands for protection, rest, ice, compression, and diagnosis. So for protection, remove additional risk or danger in the injured area. For the R, which stands for rest, stop moving the injured area. So, di man yung pwede nga injured area. Sige, giyon mo pagita sa Baskogan ka nagidya kung halay mo paghihot ang injured nga area mo da. Next is I stands for ice, which is apply ice to the injured area for 20 minutes every 2 hours for 2 days. So, then ice can be applied less frequently after the first 2 days until the 5th to 7th day. C stands for compression. So for the compression, apply an elastic compression bandage in the injured area. So hindi ba ari naman sa compression, pag hindi ka kabalo mag-apply sa elastic bandage, hindi na mapasaga-saga. Kay imbes nga ang injury is gamay lang, mas maglala pa. Or ikaw hindi ka naman matumato, kung hindi ka kabalo, hindi na lang ihatag na sa nakabalo. So, E is for elevation, which is raise the injured area above heart level. And D for the diagnosis, acute injuries should be evaluated by healthcare professionals. And hindi magpaka-Dr. Kwak-Kwak dira. Nga magmatumato, bulong sang kaugalingon. So, go to the doctor right away. So, in the first few days of an injury, remember to avoid harm. So, harm stands for heat, alcohol, running or other excessive exercise, and massage. So heat, so for H stands for heat. Any kind of heat will speed up the circulation, resulting in more swelling and longer recovery. And alcohol. So alcohol can increase swelling, resulting to longer recovery. So R for running or other excessive exercise. Exercising can cause further damage to the injured part. Exercise also increases blood flow, resulting to more swelling. So, ano naman niya, baskugan kapag idya, kung injured ka na gani, ma-exercise kapag din. Diba? So, instead nga i-rest mo ng imong injured area, igiyo-giho mo pati maayo na, hindi. M stands for massage. So, massage increases swelling and bleeding into the tissue, prolonging recovery time. Nan. So, kasabi pag isang iban, masa-masahion pa, injured na gani, masahion mo pa. So, by ida ang imong injured nga area da sa imo da nga lawas. Da ko by ida nila pagmasahi. Nan. Consult a doctor. So we have here first aid for sprains and strains. So minor sprains and strains can be treated at home using these measures. So start treatment as soon as possible to reduce swelling and speed up recovery. The less swelling, the more blood can get to the injured part to start the repair process. So first, apply the Price method. Next, do not apply heat during the first few days, as this will only increase swelling. Use paracetamol for the first day of the injury. It will reduce pain without increasing bleeding. Of course, you need pain reliever. So then after some paracetamol, ibuprofen or aspirin. So, good choice man sa nga pain reliever. So, arnica oil works to reduce swelling. Remove rings immediately if the injury is to the hand or fingers. Kung ang imong injury is sa kamot or sa fingers, kaksa ang singsing. Kung may mga singsing ka na sa imong kamot, kaksa na sa. Next is after 48 hours, start moving the limb gently, but only enough so as not to cause pain. And last, gradually increase the range of movement. Let pain be your guide. Next, we have your first aid for fractures naman. Again, just like sa sprain and sa strain, you have to apply the Price method. Keep the limb in the position you found it and place soft padding around the broken bones. Split the injury with something rigid such as rolled up newspaper or magazines to prevent the bones from shifting. So do not move the broken bones. The splints must be long enough to extend beyond joints above and below the fracture. So if there is an open fracture, pag open fracture, cover it with a clean gauze pad. Apply pressure to control bleeding.